fire starters who have shot off to impressive leads, like in this case Drainage, who are 3-0, going up against plucky underdogs who started to find their feet, like Exeter, who were on the stream earlier on and were in a knockdown drag-out battle that was a delight to watch, with a 2-1 record, coming in as the 12th seed. Bit surprising, they've got a lot of potential. This one could go a lot of ways if Jam can remember how to play Frisbee.
Well, you completed a pass there, so that's a very good start. To me, what? There's nothing like a good Lorcan and Murray rousing speech to set the spectacle, is there? Toed it on the sideline and then just didn't quite make the catch stick. That's unfortunate.
The two Germans clashing together like East and West in the 70s. As now we see Drainage, which is a fantastic name. We're talking about Mythigon as an alumni team. Drainage, the alumni team of Bath.
Yep, very good.
Very good.
I'll tell you what, that's not bad, to be fair.
That's not bad, to be fair. I tell you, tell you what now. As we see Bath just recycling quickly. Lovely shot deep. There's lots of action down there. Lots of people trying to get involved. That might be a call. Nope, letting it go.
I'll tell you what, Jam got lucky there because he got rinsed.
He did get rinsed, but I think Jam was mostly there to try and take up space and dissuade people, so the big, tall ginger fellow who's making a great undercut now for Ponytail could do some damage.
I'll tell you what, that's what he'll say anyway. Underneath it, a little bit pushy perhaps. No, it ends up in Exeter hands, so there's nothing's gonna come of it.
Cleaned up nicely, Exeter. And we saw some fantastic stuff out of this long and promising 75.
You can maybe say that perhaps they were a bit unlucky to lose that match to Shakedown. Certainly it was close all the way through, but Shakedown won. Thanks for the beer.
I think Shakedown, you're welcome. I think Shakedown won it because of experience and their ability to really adapt and keep playing their game. Great grab, lots of pressure. Bath don't want them to have anything easy, but Exeter have shown that they can keep fighting, they can keep going, especially with a couple of talismanic players. Lovely toe in, and that's the opening score.
And it goes to Exeter City. They're on the march for more upsets, I think, here today. We're the bottom seed in the pool, but knocked off both LED and Disco Biscuits. Only lost a Shakedown on Universe, so clearly they are here to take some names this weekend.
And they're going to try and start with Drainage. So Drainage came into this feeling pretty confident in themselves, 3-0. And you can see from the structure they had on that O-line, the deep shot went up to a contested space. But the structure itself was great, the fluidity, and something I always love to see is all the discs were coming out flat. Like everyone was choosing the throws they were doing, it was the wrong choice. There was no execution error. It was easier to fix choices than it is ability.
There's a Hooter that I wasn't expecting. I think maybe
trying to push some people who haven't started their games yet into the matches, but as
I imagine so, yeah. The thing is, games are so short on the Saturday that you really want to be on it so that you don't lose out on that game time.
It's a great point. As well as that, it's so easy for them to bleed over just with 1 or 2 extra points that drag on a bit too long towards the end of the game. Like we've seen as people get more tired, lots more errors come into it. That can start throwing things off. It's very impressive. Ed and the gang managed to keep this tournament running as smoothly as they do, given the eclectic nature of the people attending.
So you mentioned that Drainage ended up topping this pool. They were 3rd seeds in their pool, seeded 21 overall, and they beat Bristol Ultimate's development side, they beat the Swansea Grads, and they beat TSU in their pool to go 3-0.
So some big W's for Drainage, but there's a big mistake. Great slipping through, and Exeter just jumping it in almost to Callahan and shooting off to a 2-0 lead bench.
Tell you what, they've started strong, haven't they? I wonder, you'd say Drainage 3-0, so evidently they are a capable side. But you wonder perhaps if they get rocked a little bit early, how that would knock their confidence, especially in the short games, where it's difficult to have that time to come back sometimes.
They do need to change up what they're doing as soon as possible. That is a bad choice, and then just a bit of an execution error right in front of your end zone. Small mistakes, but they cost you so much more when you have less time to play in. I think Drainage can bounce back. I think this is a team that played with each other, obviously, for quite a long time. They know each other very well.
They certainly have the ability to do so. You don't win your pool unless you've got some capability. Oh, sun's out. It's glorious now. Look at this. Loving it. Living large here. You should put your sun
in the southwest. I put on a bunch of sun cream.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or should I put on more? Am I burning?
Your nose is a little bit pink.
Oh, I'm going to put on some more then.
But that could just be because you've had some tasty beverages. You never know. I do burn very easily. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fairly noted how, that there's been a rocky relationship between the Irish and Tans over the years.
You're never going to get tired of that joke, are you?
No, it's a brilliant joke. Why would I?
Great point. Is Drainage under a lot of pressure. Fantastic handler defense by number 12 or maybe 72 of Exeter.
I think it's a 12, but yes, not the most easily differentiated of numbers.
And they are trying to run them ragged. Great work by Drainage in the middle of the pitch. That is a tough flick break, but one that you can pull off with experience and perfectly finished.
Just
he gathered,
about.
yeah.
So when you don't quite gather it cleanly, it can be, sometimes it's difficult just to quickly pinch that focus back in. Did a very good job of it there.
He was running out of pitch as well. If he gathers that in half a second later, he's OB.
Yep, I could not disagree with you there.
On that one.
Yeah, I was going to say I could not disagree
Frequently
with you
you can disagree with
I
me.
didn't say I could disagree with you more. I kind of caught between I couldn't disagree with you and I couldn't agree more. It's like when people say I could care less. Well, yeah, of course you could care less.
When Americans say I could care less.
What you want to say is I couldn't care less.
Yes.
That's how little I care.
It's so ridiculous.
I couldn't possibly care less if I tried.
I genuinely think it's a malapropism that started with The Sopranos. And that character,
Oh, really? Interesting.
he has loads of malapropism, and one of the ones he says is I could care less.
So I had a big rant about this at Nationals. Like my current thing is people like, especially in football coverage, people saying in and around. You can't say around now. It's always in and around. So like he's put a ball up to the striker, and he's in and around. Like he's in and around the penalty area. Fine. He's in and around the penalty spot. You can't be in the penalty spot. Or he's in and around the defender. You can't be in the defender. Like that's not how physics works.
That's a good point, but I would be wary about taking my physics lessons from you.
This is true, as Jam catches the disc in and around the end zone.
And he managed to put like a comfortable throw out of that one. He's starting to really play well as Exeter.
Oh, there's a deep cut that's wide open. In the end, they're going to, rather than kind of try and milk it a little bit, just nail it short of the end zone. They hop it in, not quite. Exeter reset out again. Trying to find the options, and the offhand, backhand will get the job done. That's 3-1 to Exeter, and so far, they're looking pretty comfortable in this game, I think. Looking
very smooth, and like they're in control. They're getting that first pass off, and then they're just running, creating space well. They're not being clamped down quite as... It's not so much the clamping down. What Shakedown did that was really effective against them was really smart switching, and Bath are trying to lock them down on a more personal one-to-one basis. So it might be an idea for this experienced Drainage side to up the switches a little bit, try and set a few traps for Exeter.
I think that's a pretty good summation of it. That's when you kind of really, rather than just like, I'm focused on doing my job, you want to play good team defense, like have your head on a swivel, keep that communication high. You know, maybe you set, as you mentioned, you put the bait up there and you set those traps.
I suppose, realistically, Drainage aren't going to be as familiar with Exeter as some of the Shakedown players are.
No, but, you know, still relatively, I mean, it's still from the southwest.
Still would have played each other a decent enough amount.
Yeah, it depends obviously how you know, recently the Bath grads graduated and how many of them stayed around the area or moved away to varied climes. It'll scuba over the top of the mark. And then Jaw.
Big time layout coming up empty as Drainage continue to work it down the pitch smoothly.
Really fast hands as well to catch it.
Composed to stay focused on the disc. We were talking earlier about how hard that is. And great clean cutting by Drainage down the line the whole way, creating space and attacking it.
Got there in the end. So maybe after a slightly nervy start, Drainage have they've settled in. Maybe they've got the water temperature just right.
The next thing now is, can they turn up the heat on Exeter? They haven't really looked like they're about to dislodge possession at any time.
That's the tricky thing, isn't it? Obviously, you can put in all your own points, but if you can't generate the turns when you're on defense, it doesn't matter when you're behind in the game. You need to find a way to create that chaos and that confusion.
And what we've seen in the past, like we're saying, a bit more poaching on Exeter can kind of throw spanners in their works. So we'll see what Bath come out with here.
Those sorts of things, they always, like, generally players who are experienced enough and players who have played together enough, they kind of, it's a bit more easy to deal with. But when you don't necessarily have them play together as much as a team, you know, you're carrying players who aren't as experienced. Perhaps it's a bit more difficult for those players to get into the game.
It's very true. The partnerships aren't quite there, and the way that you know how to lift and get the best out of teammates hasn't quite been built. But at this point, you're coming into the crossover game. Unless they've had a particularly easy ride, they should have developed some of that. We'll see what they're capable of.
As again, looking for that downfield shot, not all the way to the end zone, but picking a spot and getting it there. Very expressive fake.
So they center back to the middle and jam. Looking for a break, eases it out to the end zone and comfortably taken in. Seems like he's remembered how to throw.
I mean, I don't know if that's the target he was aiming for or he was aiming for the cutter underneath, but as it is, well, you know, when you can sit those throws on the break side, even if it doesn't go to your intended target, you know that that's that any receiver there is going to have that position on their defender who's probably covering on the open side.
Ideally done. Hung up and just waited for someone to come and pick it off the rack. So again, very fluid.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Exeter, especially when we saw how much pressure they've been putting under in the shakedown game and the turnovers that they earned back. This time around, their offense is really clicking.
Does look cleaner, perhaps. I think, yeah, there were times they got a little bit rattled, a little bit flustered. And this happens a lot at any tournament, but especially at party tournaments, is sometimes points can drag on, and it can get very difficult to rise above it and score because you just can't quite find that energy.
The disc value just goes through the floor. I've seen that happen so many times. People just pick it up and just, this is 60%, I'm going to take it. Because there's been so many turnovers.
Yeah. That ball's going to curve its way back in bounds.
Not bad.
Yeah, a bit of hang time on it as well, so the Exeter defense is ready to go. Or
Here
maybe a bit of
drainage.
A bit of cluster in the cutting pattern there. Two players in the centre went to the same space. And just a drop.
I was just about to start singing the praises of that drainage cutter, working so hard, getting that much space in and under.
Just in and out of the hands, sometimes that happens.
It was in and around his grip. And a clean, easy finish for Exeter. One turn, one pass, one more break, 5-2.
Yeah, 3 points to the good now. And, I mean, you said it before in that shakedown game as well, that if you're turning over, you know, at the other end of the field, you know, at least you've got to make them work the full however many yards it is in these pitches. But you know, in a situation like that where you're turning over near the end zone, they can score in one pass. You're not even really tiring them out. It can be pretty demoralising.
And it's interesting to see how that has changed, because it was Exeter who were kind of giving up the short field turns against shakedown. And this time around, it's Exeter punching it in. That's twice now that they've been able to get short field turns off of drainage, off of some pressure, forcing a fumble, and knocking it straight in.
The ability to capitalise on those mistakes, so important.
Their clinicism.
Clinicity. I think it is.
I was making up a word. Is there actually a word for it?
Yeah, clinicity, how clinical you are.
That's really cool. It's clinicity.
It's the opposite of profligacy, I'd suggest.
Well, what's profligacy?
It's when you're very wasteful.
Oh, look at that. The more you learn. We're learning English with Benji here.
So am I. Hey, I am a man of the people.
Can you explain definitively what an adverb is?
Yes. It is a word that describes a verb. So he ran quickly. The verb is ran. The adverb is quickly. It's describing how you're doing it, how an action is being done.
English with Benji. As now we see drainage. Just trying to get some flow going, but closing those lanes and maybe laying a few traps themselves and just making up the distance again are Exeter. Another short field turn. An opportunity to push this lead out even more.
A little bit further out here, so it's not quite as easy as we got the time to set up. Especially from the quick transition, rather than the drop. It sometimes takes a bit more time to work into that space. As a brilliant toe in on the far sideline. Called good by drainage, and that's going to put them up 6-2 now, Lorcan. Jeez.
Citizens sending that one across the Rubicon. There may be no coming back for drainage after this. But, like we said, they do know each other. I got to wonder how shook they are by this. This is the most they've been down all day. They went 3-0 in their group despite coming in a slightly lower seed. So maybe they started to feel themselves a little bit too much, believe the hype that they were starting to build, and they thought, yeah, we actually are here. We took out some good teams. These guys aren't going to be as good. Surely we're going to walk them. And what they've actually done is accidentally walk into probably, I would say pretty handily, the most formidable bottom-seeded team.
Yeah, certainly it is a bit of a trap game, so to speak. Was it the great wordsmith Public Enemy? Don't believe the hype. Is that Public Enemy?
Well, that is Public Enemy, but at the same time, also in the great words of Public Enemy, it could be closer than you think.
Not bad, that.
Chuck D.
I must admit my knowledge of her.
And just like that,
Is that more
we
Public
see
Enemy?
Exeter. That is, yes.
Okay.
Exeter are on the brink of taking half. Here come Drainage. They've got a lot of fluid in their play right now, hoping to dry it up.
And you can see what they're aiming for, kind of keeping it flat, but just a tiny too much angle on it. And the wind really exaggerated that. And Exeter, they've got to work the full length of the central zone.
At least it's not short field turnover. That's a good point, Benji. And there's a hand block, but so unfortunate, still collected. The Karate Kid coming in there and corralling it.
Catch your hand blocked.
Has to be done. Floaty, great take by Jam.
I mean, for Jam, yeah, certainly. Low, just about finding the gap.
And this young blondie-haired man has been having some very impressive plays throughout the day.
Just the point, he got the defender biting for a split second too long, and it was able to free himself up the line. Now the reset into the center.
Swing it all the way around. They don't take the easy first punch in, and instead loop it, but just too far. Nice pressure from Bath.
It's got to be the thumber there. Flights up the thumber to the back corner. When will people learn?
Because the thumber would sit slightly more.
Yeah.
I do love a good blade, though. A
Yeah, me
bladey
too.
flick.
If you could just maybe hold it for a split second longer, but then the defender comes into that space. So just maybe just a little bit more of a feather touch to get some air under it. As you mentioned, when you've got to work it the full field after the turn, it's just more difficult.
So here come Exeter, trying to exert some pressure and doing quite well, clamping down on Drainage. They've got a bit of freedom in the middle of the park. But there's always a defender nearby.
Oh,
well held on to. Well contested on the deep shot, but it's a beaut if it sits. Can he get there? He looked like he jumped out, yeah.
Yeah, I think he did. That is some poor form.
Peculiar decision, but we're not down there and we can't quite see. Maybe it was already gone.
And so Drainage have really got bogged and plugged down.
It is unfortunate. You'd hope they could get some kind of a flow going again. But first, they're going to need to do some blockage of their own.
Injury called by the Exeter player who made the catch on that sideline.
That's an unfortunate one.
Maybe just jarred something as he planted.
Maybe jamming the knee a little bit.
The fields are in relatively good condition, I have to say, but injuries do happen, unfortunately. Swung into the center, and looks like she never quite had a handset.
This could be the lifeline that Drainage need. The quick pop, but Jam just manages to jump across and kind of throw off the defender.
The receiver.
Or throw off the receiver even.
Yeah, I do that.
I
do that all the time, don't worry.
And here comes Jam, putting it into the middle. Bit of stagnation downfield. Although then there's a cheeky scuba. That'll get everybody up and running. We got some deep shots. Nothing happening.
This is what we've been saying, you know, there's been a couple of turnovers now, and then who can really fight through the kind of the ugliness that sometimes happens with multiple turn points. Oh, he wanted it deep. You could see he was begging for it, but the hand block.
Great pressure to get that hand block off. There was separation deep and there was separation short, but the guy on the force just said, you know what, taking it into my own hand block. Shuts down. Here come Drainage. There's the little shaker to set up the play. Now some space, trying to get it downfield to their main cutter, or certainly the person who strikes me as their main cutter today.
High release, gets a bit of a bump on the mark, but plays through it.
Swings it out to the break side. I like that little inside drop the shoulder and then just set it up to be run onto.
Especially in this slightly up and down wind, I'd have much preferred the clap catch rather than the crab catch there.
Looking to attack that front corner. They've got options to reset, but maybe clogging too much. Just about getting away with it and looking to shoot to the middle. Fantastic reaction block to tip that away from the waiting hands.
Didn't get all of it, but got just enough. And that's all that matters.
That's all you need. Oh, Jam's starting to feel himself a little bit. That might not be good for Exeter. You know, I really should be complimenting him more, considering he's played very well this game and he bribed us. Intentional Mac. That's a turnover. Disc don't lie.
The intentional Mac is not a turnover.
What? Not anymore?
No.
What are you playing, AUDL?
It's not. No, you can Mac it to your teammate. That's perfectly fine. You can't Mac it to yourself to advance the disc, but otherwise, yeah, you can Mac it to teammates. People just don't because it's much safer to catch it.
Dangerous. And it's not like time's going to go. And you need to Mac it then.
Exactly, yeah, because we don't play with, unless it's indoors, we don't play with the clock. Not in that sense.
Man, playing with the clock in indoors. First time I did that in the UK was mental. Do we have a timeout here?
It is a timeout taken by Drainage because, as we mentioned, points grinding out a little bit here.
And they need to score. If you got to say, if Exeter take half, this feels like this game's over.
7-2, yeah. It's a tall order to come back from that.
7-2 halfway through the game, time-wise as well.
How are you feeling now, Lorcan?
I'm feeling a little better. I kind of rise up and down. It's just a timeout right now, so we're getting a chance to catch our breath, although we may be going into another break straight after it if Exeter score and take half. But I'm feeling a little bit more energized. I could do with maybe a bit of grub, maybe a bit of slightly harder drinking. I don't know. How are you feeling?
You've got your eye on perhaps winning the Mac line to get the Ether reality-bending cocktail.
I wouldn't mind winning that old Mac line. I mean, I was fairly good at Mac line. I haven't played it in a long time now. So I'm excited to get back.
Allegedly European Mac line champion.
I'm pretty sure established European Mac line champion.
Allegedly.
I won. All right. It's more established than anyone else has ever been a European champion of Mac line in that year.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Very good, yeah. No, I agree. Imagine if someone actually organised the European Mac line championship.
Oh, it'd be nuts. If people... Because the thing is, most people who are hanging around and playing Mac line, they're not at the elite level of Frisbee. So if people start taking it seriously and stuff like that, then I don't think your boy's getting a look in.
Really?
Probably not, man. I mean, just some really tall people going, you're going to lose to a tall person who has any idea how to play Mac line nine times out of 10.
It's a skill playing Mac line, though. It's a skill.
Yeah, but it's not that hard to learn that skill.
Honestly, I think it's a bit harder than I think people give it credit for.
Fair enough.
If that happens on the show pitch, by the way, we will stream and commentate on it.
We will not. You may.
You'll be in it.
Yeah. Oh, and Neil be in it too.
Oh, we won't be streaming it then. Well, in which case, I'll be in it.
We'll have to work together.
Fine, I'll be in it as well.
We'll all be scrapping to get to the front of the line.
Or the back of the line.
Depending.
And this is the interesting. It's often difficult to get the disc moving off a timeout because it can take a couple of seconds to get that disc in flow, and because the offense sets up first and the defense sets up around it. It's often easy to tell what their main things they're looking for are, and you can set up a defense deliberately to take those away. Very good reset. Just about gets it off. Mark's on the floor. Got to take advantage of that. Squeezes it down the sideline. Jams the second late.
Working their tails off to try and cover these handlers, but this is fantastic stuff from Drainage. Every pass is contested, but they are putting proper fakes in, properly trying to develop separation, so it's a little easier on the throws. Nothing happening on the open side there as they start to get a little bit tired, and nice down the line.
Yeah,
nobody really looking to cut off from it.
Love the use of the offhand backhand there as well. A bit of creativity.
As the wind picks up, I would be scared to see him go to it again.
Nah, back yourself.
Big time layout, and it was coming the whole time. Pinkhout wasn't putting in a fake for his cut. He was just trying to sprint directly under.
And it was, see what, full extension, horizontal.
Baited. I call that baited. That defender knew that was coming the entire time. You can't make the exact same cut 3 times in a row and not expect your defender to have measured out your speed by then.
If this was on Twitch, I imagine the chat would be full of debated emotes.
There's a soft lead, but just slightly too far ahead of 14. So Exeter can take half.
There's the Jam we know and love.
Jam. There's the Jam we know and got bribed by.
There's the Jam we know.
No, he's a great lad.
I have played against Jam for basically since I started playing Ultimate.
So have most of the people who play UK Ultimate.
Correct. This one tries to sneak a blade down the sideline, although I don't think it was meant to be as bladey as it ended up being. And a bit of a roll is going to give Exeter negative field position. This is the first point that's really kind of had a few turnovers this game.
Yeah.
And it has really dragged out now, as you can hear the wind picking up on the field microphone, right on the top of the pole cam up there.
It's starting to really whip around. That clearing throw really worked out quite well. They've trapped Exeter in just about the worst place to be, but that is some smooth handler give and go to work your way out of it. Unfortunately, I feel like maybe 14 should have jumped across and tried to take that for themselves.
Yeah, Drainage, maybe you could say that they baited that one a little bit as well. Tried to give himself the position to take that underneath line and get a hand in the way. And then I liked is that he didn't just let it go out the side, followed it up and caught it. A, to make sure that, you know, there's no extra player there lurking, and B, so they can get the offense moving quickly.
So now we'll see if Drainage can get it across, but again leaving a lot of work for the handlers to do with the cuts they're making downfield right now.
Oh, gratuitous ground check. I think that should be a turnover. I've made my opinions clear on the matter very...
You do tend to do that with your opinions.
Honestly, it annoys me.
The opportunity to send it deep. A lot of things do that.
I think it's because this point's grinding on a bit. They're trying to take the sensible option. And then the high release backhand down the sideline.
But just not enough direction on it, and it was always drifting out.
Yeah,
good hustle by Drainage on the D.
It just had that tail on it. It didn't quite come back in bounds. And
Have you ever thrown it and you feel that happening and you're just watching it slowly drift?
No,
go the other way. Go the other way.
And then,
so rough.
And then you look at your hands like, why have you betrayed me?
Why? All I've ever done is show you love.
Curse you, or they've showed you love, I guess.
It's a two-way street. As Drainage hoping to get their way back into this game. That's a bit low and a bit bladey, and a bit typical of the offense they've been running.
It's the same thing as well. They need to adjust for this by putting more inside-out shape on it and then trusting that the wind is going to help that flatten out.
Difficult thing to trust. The wind hasn't been too consistent. Again, it's starting to die down a little bit. Ooh, that was risque.
No, mate. Nailed on.
Like Jesus to a cross.
Who?
Jesus. He was this Mexican lad. He got on the wrong side of the American government.
Sheesh.
As now Exeter trying to get on the right side of half, as they've been trying to do for about 15 minutes. After looking so sleek and slick with their offense for most of this game, powering ahead to a 6-2 lead over the much higher seeded team.
And
we may remind you.
We mentioned how this can happen sometimes, you know, points drag on and grind out, and it can be a real effort to try and get through. You know, you might not necessarily have your best 7 on the field at that particular moment. So,
and the 7 that are on are knackered by now. Looking for another shot, and finally they've been trying to connect with 14 in the end zone for a while. That one is the throw that is actually catchable, and she catches it. Surprise, surprise. 7-2, half for Exeter.
And you kind of feel like the game might be pretty much won at this point. Drainage have got a lot of work to do. Coming back from 5 points down is a real challenge.
And how much time do they have left to do it in? About 20 minutes? It's doable, but they can't really afford to concede anymore. What's strange to me is, what do you think Exeter are applying to Drainage to get them trapped in these not very well executed hucks and some of these almost lackadaisical passes where they're getting picked off through the passing lanes? Clearly Drainage very good coming into this 3-0, but Exeter seem to be disrupting just about everything.
I think Drainage, they just look like they've got a little bit less left in the tank, and that maybe it has kind of
drained them?
Yes, like been slipped and siphoned away. You know, because it feels like we're seeing like the big explosive bids. It feels like we're seeing more from Exeter City than we are from Drainage. And even if they're not necessarily getting there, you're putting that seed of doubt in your opposition's mind, knowing that, you know what, they could be lurking, they could be waiting, and you're just a little bit more reticent, and you can't play your free-flowing best.
That was always something I maintained about the power of laying out. It's not just about getting those layout blocks. It's about the way you change the mentality of the handlers.
It's about sending a message.
Exactly. Exactly. They see you on the shoulder, and what is probably still 90% throw, you're like, oh, they might lay out. No, I can't take that. Because nobody wants to get schooled like that in a throw they do.
No, absolutely not.
So if you can start to really build that fear.
Especially not on a stream where you'll get called out for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one thing is we don't really know anybody's name. So you have some degree of anonymity.
That is true.
Well, I suppose people who know you who are watching would know.
Who's anonymity?
She's an aunt of mine. She married that lad Phil Anonymity.
I mean, it is an Irish name, isn't it? Anonymity.
That's right. No, it probably is. Anything with O in front of it.
There's definitely an anonymity somewhere. He lied, lyingly.
It wasn't very convincing. But I'll give it to you.
I should have committed, shouldn't I?
It's always been your problem.
If you on it, confidence is
9/10 of the law.
Yeah, I nearly went into park life there. Confidence is a preference for those who are a bit aware of what is known is. But like
park life.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. All that. If you say stuff with enough conviction,
Here's my thing.
people will believe you.
Yes. Here's my thing about fake it till you make it. Because it's been a mantra of mine for a large part of my life, which is why I always look like I don't know what I'm doing. But where do you find the balance between faking it till you making it and keeping it real?
Well, this is interesting because I make loads of jokes on here about the fact that I'm only 5'4", and what people don't know is that I'm actually nearly 7 foot tall.
I know, and I always wondered about that.
Just because I say it with enough confidence, people believe it.
Well, also, people very rarely see you.
Which is amazing.
And you're always like putting shoes on your knees.
Which is amazing because I'm nearly 7 foot tall.
True.
This is the thing, but if you say it with enough confidence, it's great. And this is why I'm behind, being on the desk, so people don't have to see how massively goony I am.
That is true. You are one of the goonier people I know.
I mean, that is true in multiple ways.
You were very impressive in your ice hockey enforcer career.
Oh, honestly, mate. Like, what's that guy's name on the... Tom Wilson on the Capitals? Noted bad...
Psychopath?
Yep.
Professional psychopath.
The fact that ice hockey teams still have an enforcer is wild to me.
They're mostly gone by now.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that they're getting rid of them. It was like the best thing about ice hockey.
No, the best thing about ice hockey is that you can be penalised for not fighting. Like if you
and
initiate
an unfortunate drop for drainage has become out here in the second half.
I think maybe
bouncing out of the hands.
Yeah, maybe an Exeter player got a tip on it. I think, perhaps.
Very possible. It would certainly explain a lot. As now Exeter looking to really put some finishing touches on this game. Let's see how clean their offense can look without some of the more experienced leaders.
Nice around break there and a continuation. Oh, flopped on the line.
I would give it to them, but we'll see what they decide.
Annie,
are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie?
There was a little bit of Jacko in it, wasn't there? But not in that way.
He's a bit old.
I mean, they've got a much better view of it than I do.
We didn't have a bad view. We felt like he was fairly in.
It was. Oh, really? Because maybe I'm just more generous to people. They've called it in, given the benefit of the doubt. If he called it cleanly, he would have been definitely in, but shoulda, woulda, coulda.
As Exeter get the little pop reset off, and now back into the middle. Still struggling to get a bit of space in front of their handlers.
That one
beautifully intercepted.
Collins picked that off easily.
And now Drainage with a chance to go back. They cannot concede any more in my mind. Big hammer, that's caught by the wind and is going too far.
You could see where it was going to go, and then the wind just had a multitude of other ideas, and he just continued to push it out of the back of the end zone.
I'll take your suggestion under advisement, said the wind, before blowing hard.
Before deciding, I've taken your suggestion under advisement, and I disagree wholeheartedly, and just punting it out of the end zone.
If anything, I find it offensive.
Yes.
Get it out of here. As now we see Exeter. Again, that's a big undercut coming, but slightly mistimed. Don't get as many yards as they could have out of it. Hopefully they can reset into the middle and hit this break side. Nice. Just in front and just in time. Another break opportunity, and now Exeter are really moving down the field. Nicely into the middle again. This is good resetting by Exeter. Not clogging too much behind the disc at least. In front, not a whole lot happening still. But a couple of the talismans making consistent cuts. Unfortunately, a miscommunication and a turn.
Yeah, I thought it signalled for the pass to go there and then just bounced it back inside. So not entirely sure how that played out.
And again, after a very professional-looking first-half performance for the most of it, it seems that last point of the half is carried on into this one. Lots and lots of turns, lots of uncertainty, lots of probably getting released too high passes.
Yeah, they felt like that maybe Exeter have adjusted for the wind a bit better than Drainage have. They've made the most of the conditions a bit better. Oh, well tipped. And I thought nearly it was going to be another catch your D's, but just about got away with it.
Really well defended. These Hireley's backhands, I mean, that one worked just about, and then that one was too low. Oh,
it's tricky to try and get the Goldilocks level of release, I guess.
In this wind, it's understandable, but Drainage just haven't been able to establish any kind of consistent flow in this game.
It feels like they're trying to fight against the wind rather than using it.
So they're trying to fight with the wind.
Oh, hello, this is wide. It's going to require a layout. Didn't happen in the end.
This is a big opportunity.
Drainage have to punch this in. They have to finally put the plug in and prevent it just slipping away from them.
Front corner. No cut for the first 3 seconds. Now the cut comes to the corner. That's a nice swing around to the back. Just about into the middle, very close. And that's a tidy little bit of offensive set.
It's just, you know, they had to get it right near, they had to get it, I mean, right on the line, basically, to be able to punch it in. They haven't been able to work it down the field with any consistency, unfortunately.
That is an unfortunate reality. If they hadn't gotten that short field turn, do you think they would have gotten the score? Probably not, but they did, and now maybe that can start to build and breed a little bit of confidence in their hearts. Maybe calm them down a little bit, settle them in, and you know, with that confidence, they could start to build a little bit of momentum. Then maybe they could get that momentum and just carry them through the next few points so they can carry on, gaining strength, knock the other team off their hilter, and go for the win. Do you agree, Benji?
Yeah, I think so, I do. You know what, sometimes it's like, do I agree? Yes, I agree. Very good.
Sometimes it's just easier to lie to people.
No, genuinely agree. I've been keeping an eye on what's been going on my regular commentary job.
Oh right, yes, in the
you know, the high climbs of the Southern League Division 1 South. Anyway, we're 2-0 up. We scored another penalty. We win a lot of penalties. We're good at it.
Nice.
I say
Does
we.
You bribe a lot of refs?
No, I wish.
Are you the Man United of the South Division 1?
Here's the thing, right? I genuinely think we just, like, we have players who are fast and get in behind and thus win a lot of penalties. That's my...
Makes sense. That's why I think Man United get so many.
Also because they buy them.
Exeter. That's a nice cut. It's fairly well covered. Going for a bit too ambitious of a break throw, though, instead of the open.
So maybe Drainage have found a way to sneak a way back into this.
Maybe. That was some really smart defending on the open side. Just covered him just enough to make him go for the slightly harder break one. Unfortunately, they can't capitalize. Kind of letting that chance go by them.
I think Jam was just in the way enough to prevent a proper bid. Hey, sometimes that's all you need to do on defense. You don't need to get the disc, you just need to make sure that the other team doesn't. Exactly.
And a nice swing. Always love to see a handler from the sideline throw, go, collect again, and try to get up into a more central position.
But Drainage, I think, you know, their offense has certainly looked a lot less polished than it had earlier in the game. Maybe the fact that they're not being given those short fields that they were earlier. And they haven't been able to work it down the field with consistency as that one. Again, not on the same page.
Just a bit behind him. The timing is off. As Jam gets it back into the middle. Explained how we feel about looking off an open pass.
Always gets you in trouble. Always gets you in trouble. You look off open passes, you have to make a slightly more difficult pass, and you get in trouble.
You have to do it with less time in the stall, so you're going to be under more pressure. So once again, Drainage trying to work their way off this sideline. Big time bids. Taking his time getting back up. 16 has been throwing himself around the pitch. Is that a pick or a score?
Travel, maybe.
Oh, okie dokie.
That is what I think a veteran travel call from Jam.
Smart move.
Or mean. I must admit, I wasn't looking at his feet, so I didn't have a great view of it.
It's not a bad position to be in. Drainage with a chance to close the lead again. This will be their first break of the game. And it's, oh, just on the end zone line now. Well scooped up. That was low and not easy. High release flick. Ambitious and to be honest, a little unnecessary. Big floaty backhand. That's going to sit long enough for him to get there. That is a shot, baby. Bang, bang.
And boom goes the dynamite. I tell you what, that was brilliant. That's a full credit where it's due. Like, he saw that there was an opportunity, ran it up to the front of the end zone line, just lashed it deep. And I thought, well, he's going to have to get on his bike, but it sat beautifully. And you know it's a good put when they just, it's a simple clap catch out in front with, you know, uncontested. Don't have to make any real effort, just never has to break stride. An absolute peach. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut, I guess.
Why you got to bring the blind squirrels into this?
Hey, man, blind squirrels need love too. It's not easy out there.
It's not easy out there for a squirrel.
Especially one that's blind.
Yep. So Exeter looking good after a pretty messy,
very good.
Pretty messy, protracted point.
There are, let me check at the time.
Rough on drainage to not be able to finish that off right there.
Probably about 5 minutes till cap goes on. So yeah, you get the feeling that, you know, 5 points down. Don't know if there might already be too much to do.
And if that's a feeling that drainage have in their own hearts, the game is already over. So let's see how they bounce back.
Yeah, they need to have that belief, Lorcan. But maybe not.
That one's slipping out of the hands. And Exeter looking to just strike back straight away.
Just needed a bit more touch on it. It was thrown very hard for a throw in such a small window.
I love that. I know I said it a bunch, but I love that just on the sideline, throw and follow. Big hammer all the way across. And it's 10, or it's 9 even. I apologize. 9-6, 9-3, 6-point difference.
You right there?
No. Maths, not my strong suit.
What is?
Probably my blue Armani one.
Your what?
It's a type of suit.
Fair enough. Good, beautiful hammer. Beautiful
It
hammer.
was a beautiful hammer across the other side of the pitch.
Did you enjoy seeing it?
I did.
Did you love to see it?
I'd say I would. I would feel pretty strongly about seeing it.
You know there's a fly in your beer, or cider. Flider.
No, there isn't.
Oh, you're right, there isn't. Sorry, my bad.
Thank you. All right, Exeter looking to wrap this game up, and we would have, what, 2 more games left today?
Yes.
If we're including the show game?
Which we are.
Woo! 9-5? Nope, 9-6.
What a way to make a living.
Yeah. Working 9 to 6, drinking constantly. That was a really bad turnover. Here come Exeter City.
But it's 9-3, and it's very soon might become 10-3. Looking to dink and dunk around the end zone over the top. Oh, just about made it. I tell you what, for a moment there, it made that sort of sound where I thought it was going to bounce out, but it nestled in there.
That thunk noise of it, like the plastic hitting the base of the palm.
Yeah, like the bottom of the thumb.
That bit there, yeah.
Ka-bunk.
Dunk.
Dunk.
But he pulled it off, and he pulled it in. Just about as well with the tip. Drainage have these sparks of ability, but they haven't been able to put it together in this game. I think Exeter have just come in wanting this more and more aware of what the game would be like.
Yeah, it feels like they were a bit sloppy. Both teams were a bit sloppy early, but Exeter were finally able to put a good run of points together. And Bath, they just didn't have the...
See, I don't think Exeter were sloppy early. I think I might be misremembering it, but I thought Exeter were clean. But you're definitely right. They put together a great run to pull ahead like 4-5-2, and then...
It kind of broke the pack.
Yeah, it seemed like it did, and during that run, they were looking smooth. And then at 6-2, in that game to try and go to half, that was where a lot of mistakes crept in on both sides. But Exeter have just been able to pull off a couple more big plays since then and keep building on their lead. There was a point where Drainage were right up on the end zone line with one of their best throwers, disc in hand. She's looking at her options, and it was, I believe, 7-4 at the time, 7-3 at the time, chance to go to 7-4. You can see how quickly it turns, 10-3.
How the turntables have turned.
How the swings have momentumed table.
Sandwich. God, I'll tell you what, now the sun's out, it's a beautiful Somerset afternoon, which is not something you get the chance to say too often.
Maybe not something you get the chance to say too often.
I have family who live in Somerset. Apparently it rains non-stop. Genuinely non-stop.
As someone who's come from Ireland, I gotta say, it doesn't rain, in my experience in the last 2 years, it doesn't rain nearly as much as it does in Ireland. It does in Limerick anyway.
Oh yeah, Limerick is very wet, really.
It's ridiculously wet. It's like 2 weeks of summer a year.
Do you know any limericks about people from Limerick?
Yeah, I know loads of limericks.
About people from Limerick?
Specifically about people from Limerick?
Yeah, the limerick about Limerick.
Oh, none I can say on stream.
There once was a fellow from Limerick.
Oh, no. Not one I could say. Well, there once was a man named Enos, and let's just say the stories about him are greatly exaggerated.
I told you that I once knew a bloke from Australia.
What? Mike?
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you off stream.
Going to tempt me into swearing, are we? As Exeter, that is some nice pressure. I like that poach coming through, showing they still have some fight.
A really good catch, though, under that pressure, getting a hand underneath to make sure that it didn't hit the turf.
All that pressure, pushing down on him. That's a big swing. And Exeter really opening up the space and enjoying it. Maybe a bit too much. That was lackadaisical.
Yeah, a little bit behind, perhaps, so he just has to stick out that hand and hope that it nestled in there. Not on this occasion.
So drainage. You'd have to say this game's pretty much concluded, but it is a knockout game, so lots of reasons to stay fighting and not give up.
Hey, and the great thing about Ultimate is that until you score, is that you have to score that last point to win. Trying to manipulate the defenders there with their fakes.
Nice undercut coming to the break side, but cut off at the same time, and there goes the buzzer. It's going to be finished the point, add 1. To be a game to 11 or a game to 12. Game to 11 it is. 10-4, good buddy.
Maybe not. Veteran travel call again.
Crafty.
Boo.
Sticky wicket, some would say.
It's a bit of a wiki stick-it. Oh, hello. There's a friend who's just come past the broadcast booth. It's a beautiful, fluffy Labrador. Just trying to make sure that it doesn't find anything that it shouldn't.
Oh, yeah, like the contraband?
I was thinking like chocolate.
Oh, that makes much more sense.
We don't have contraband.
No, of course we don't have contraband, and we definitely didn't hide it in chocolate. As here come Drainage, hoping for something sweet themselves, and they get it. Nice little turn, a burst of pace.
Yeah,
10-4.
Just the way, just the angle of that disc, showing a little bit of the underside to it, just so that it sits and floats.
Bit of an air bounce almost with the release as well.
Almost a bit of air bounce. Yeah, you're right. So 10-4, game to 11. Probably a bit too much to do at this point, but hey, you never know. Get a couple on the board.
Get 1 or 2 on the board. Let's see what happens when this stone starts a-rolling. But honestly, Exeter have very few O points in this game. And there's a very good reason why I reckon they're going to punch this in on this point and win the game.
What would you do? Would you have a particular play in mind? Draw up a huck to one of your big guys, perhaps? Or just try and just see what's available, just play calm and take what they give you? Honestly,
yeah. I'd play calm and take what they give me because they've got a couple of great players on there. Obviously, I don't know any of their names, but Ponytail is fantastic, has made some great plays. Just to the right of him, player in 6 has done great. The 2 German shirts have been fab, and then we know what a lethal finisher 14 can be for them. So they've got all the ingredients out there to just step out and play through it as calmly as they want. Let the defense give you something and then take it, because there's plenty of options they have that they can take.
So here we go. Could be the final point of the game if Exeter can work their way forward.
Middle of the pitch, cool, calm and collected right now. Lots of clearing into the stack and then cutting straight back out of it, which is a form of faking.
They're trying to just do it in bits and pieces at the moment.
Nothing too fancy, nothing too extreme. You like to see maybe a bit more ambition from them, but there's ambition for you, and it's gone the wrong way. A big arcing flick break and a short field turnover.
Didn't get the right edge on it. 2 outside in, and it should have had the inside out shape.
As he carried it across his body to get the angle for the shot, it threw off the angle on the disc. First time of asking for drainage. Oh no, they've gone for the dump. And immediately somebody needs to lash that. There's 2 people calling, they're completely exposed. Of course, Ponytail picks it up. Great pressure by the force to not let the deep shot off. And there's the float all the way to the back corner. And it's completed. Exeter pull off a massive upset with a bit of an ass kicking. Big props to the boys from the southwest of England.
11-4, and you know what that means? They found their way into the top 8 for tomorrow, which is a huge bonus for a team that was coming in seeded, what, 25th?
Yep, well, this is what they get. It's trouble for Bath when they bump into some Roman soldiers like Exeter, who are just looking to march their way right up that leaderboard and maybe take one of the top spots for themselves. This young side has got some veteran talent mixed in and a lot of potential. We'll be fortunate to watch what they do next. Commiserations to Drainage. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We've got the crossover between 1 and 16 next. And as we've just seen here with the games at Glastonbury, in no way is that a sure thing at all. So we expect to see you back here on the hour at the top of the hour. I've been Lorcan Murray.
I've been Benji Reese.
See you in 6.
Alti.tv